Hey guys, what's going on? So this right here is a OnePlus 8 Pro that I've been using as my primary for about a week now. Now the biggest shift here in terms of the hardware has to be the camera here, which kind of puts it against the best in the market. The premium players, which is why I decided to compare the camera with the S20, which is the cheapest of the overall S20 series. But even with a price tag of rupees 15,000 between them, do you think that price gap is justified? Let's find out. This is Varun from Guiding Tech, and you're watching my in-depth camera comparison of the OnePlus 8 Pro with the Samsung Galaxy S20. Let's get started. Okay, so kicking things off in the daylight section, here's a shot of a broken wall. Now I wanted to see how the phones fare off in terms of texture, and surprisingly, the OnePlus 8 Pro actually outperforms the S20, offering a more detailed shot in comparison to the slightly softer S20. And the colors are more natural, and this is taking in account that the HDR mode was turned on. One thing that you'll also notice is that the S20 retains more of the backdrop while the 8 Pro blurs it, despite there not being a difference in the aperture of the shots. But then again, this is something that the 8 Pro does quite often, which you'll see in more of the upcoming shots, and depending upon your taste, you may choose to like it or not like it. Now that background bokeh with the HDR was interesting, but I wanted to push the HDR capabilities on both the phones to the next level, which is what you're seeing on your screen right now. While the previous shot might have been closer, these tell you a stark difference. First off, there are the color tones. The 8 Pro goes for a more saturated color tone, while the S20 offers slightly natural tones. However, the major difference is when you consider the trees and the pole itself. The 8 Pro has completely darkened both the subjects, while the S20, in true HDR fashion, preserves the greens and the greys on both the objects respectively. Now adding skies to a photo really pushes the HDR to the test, which is why in this next shot, once again you'll see polarizing opposite results. The 8 Pro once again goes for a saturated sky, while the greens are uplifted to a yellowish tint. The S20, on the other hand, while manages to keep the sky natural, does saturate the greens a tad bit. Now here's the thing, when I took the photos and I saw them on the phones itself, I thought that the S20 was oversaturating the images quite a lot. But that's the one part. When I transferred it to my PC and saw them on my color calibrated monitor, it's actually the OnePlus that is doing a little more saturation. So what's happening is that Samsung, basically the gallery app inside the S20, kind of turns the images a little more saturated and makes the colors a little more popped out on the display, even if you have the display profile on your phone to normal. So yeah, that is one thing that you have to keep in mind, because there is that possibility that you take a shot on your phone, you think it's popping and you post it, but someone else might just find it a little too natural. Or worst case scenario, you try and tune it even more, you saturate it to a higher extent, but well, the colors are a bit off. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Anyway, moving on with the comparison, let's dive a bit deeper into greens. Now the next shot is one of my favorites cause you get to see the crispness of the shot along with the hints of yellows spread around. On the onset, both the shots look quite familiar. That said, if you focus onto the yellow flowers, you'll notice that the S20 tends to wash them up a bit while the 8 Pro, well, it sort of warms them up. Now neither of them are spot on, but both are equally distant from the true picture. One advantage though that the 8 Pro has here is that it definitely offers more crisper results. Now this is also largely due to the fact that the OnePlus 8 Pro pixel bins images from 48MP to 12MP, while the S20 directly shoots them in 12MP. Add to that a little pinch of over sharpening, and definitely OnePlus 8 Pro's shot will look much more sharper. Moving on to one of my favorite colors in testing for saturation, that is reds. First off, there are some benches in the shot. Both the phones do a fairly decent job, but the 8 Pro leans a bit towards saturation, especially if you take the greens in the backdrop into account as well. But in this next shot, things go a bit sideways. If you zoom into the flower, you'll see that OnePlus actually preserves the light pinks and even the strong pinkish buds, while it is the S20 that is kind of aggressive in its tuning. It's a fine difference, one that most folks won't care about, but it's there. And on that note, let's move towards this final shot, using which I would like to tell you the most important thing about software image processing. It's good, it makes things pop, it sometimes saturates, it sometimes adds warmth like it does on the S20 shot right now. But at the end of the day, its software processing, so it will always be inconsistent. Now, as a consumer, obviously things get better for you because you're paying a premium price and that gets you the minutest of inconsistencies, but there will always be some sort of inconsistent performance. So keep that in mind. Now, moving on to the other lenses on the phone, let's address ultra-wide lenses first. In the normal mode, once again both the phones perform equally good, with the 8 Pro having slightly better details. But for now, keep your eyes on the sky. Notice the difference in the color tones. The OnePlus 8 is a bit more bluish, right? Well, now going to the ultra-wide mode and oh wow, what is this? The S20 shot not only offers a more wider frame of 0.5x, but it also retains almost the same color profile as the standard shot. The 8 Pro, on the other hand, goes from bluish to more balanced, which, although I like, once again showcases the inconsistency in not only the software as a base element, but also the color parity that most phones have when switching between various lenses. I mean, only the iPhone has that color parity between different lenses nailed down to the actual point. Also, if you do not agree with my analysis of the colors, feel free to download all the images in full resolution on your system and compare them for yourself on your own display. We at Guiding Tech do not do paid camera comparisons or any review of that matter, and we stand by it. Now, apart from the ultra-wide lenses, both the phones have a telephoto lens on offer as well. Now, this shows, as in the normal shot on your screen, you'll find that apart from the warmth, both the shots are quite similar. That said, going to 3x, while both the phones offer good details, OnePlus's shot is definitely more crisper and the text is easily readable, especially in the bottom Hindi rows. In terms of full-res images, the 8 Pro can capture 48 megapixel shots, while the S20 goes a bit ahead with a 64MP shot. While comparing one against another, there's not a lot separating the two. Yes, there's some slight contrast boost on the S20 shot, but it's basically the same story that we observed in the normal daylight shots. However, when you zoom in at 100% crop, obviously the S20 shot will offer more details and allow you to zoom in further. The sharpness is there, and it is evident that both the phones rely on a combination of over-sharpening with raw details. Which shot you like is something I'll leave up to you, cause apart from the extra megapixels, there's no marquee difference. Moving on with human shots, both the OnePlus and Galaxy phones do an excellent job in terms of details. However, if you zoom into the beard, once again you'll see that the 8 Pro has a sharper image, which is good. That said, if you focus on the left side of my shoulder, you'll notice that the 8 Pro tends to blue out the highlights, while the S20 shot is more balanced and rich in color. Turning the portrait mode on, and we see a bigger difference in color profiles now. S20 shot is more vibrant and slightly brighter, while the 8 Pro offers more contrasty finish to it. That's it, this time around, the S20 is the one that maintains the same level of detail, while the 8 Pro goes for a softer finish. Also, if you zoom into my shoulder on the left, you'll see that the S20 also wins in terms of edge detection. And it's not a massive margin, but yeah, the premium price definitely gets you better performance. In terms of rear video capabilities, both the phones can shoot at 4K resolutions up to 60 FPS. Now there's also the super steady mode, but while OnePlus supports it up to 4K 30 FPS, the Galaxy S20 tops out at 1080p only. So in 1080p 30 FPS with super stable mode turned on, both the phones do a great job of cancelling out any shakes whatsoever. However, in terms of color profiles, I think the 8 Pro has a slight lead here. While the HDR might not be perfect, for the major portion of the video, the colors were mostly spot on. With the S20, the whole video looks warmer and slightly saturated as well. That said, when you start running, just see the difference in terms of stabilization. With the S20, you can't even notice that I'm running, while on the 8 Pro, it is quite evident. Now, personally, I think I would still stick with the S20's footage, but the reason behind it is when I am taking a video, I want more emphasis on stability and details. Colors are still something that I can personally tune later on in post-processing, but for a video, my most important criteria is stability and details, and that is where the S20 definitely wins over the OnePlus 8 Pro. Now, if you're someone who does not want to edit, easily the OnePlus 8 should be your preferred choice. Now, while the OnePlus 8 Pro has so far been giving the S20 a run for its money, I think the story completely changes when it comes to the selfie camera. Apart from the higher details, I have to say that OnePlus really needs to work on its software. The image is immensely whitened for no reason, there's smoothing going on off my skin even though the beauty modes were off, and even the greens in the backdrop are off. On the S20, however, you get a more natural image with enough details despite only being 10 megapixel, and the colors are balanced throughout the table. The story remains the same in this next shot I took after a sprint. Yes, there was a natural glow on my face, add to that the fact that this was taken around 4 in the evening, but definitely not as glowing as the 8 Pro makes it look. The S20 on the other hand once again triumphs in this battle. Now with the portrait mode turned on, I think OnePlus still has an argument in its favor, which is ever so slightly better edge detection. Or so you would think at a first glance. Zoom into the left side of my t-shirt and you'll be scratching your head as to how did OnePlus miss that out. In terms of the bokeh, yes, the S20 is a bit more aggressive, but you can always control the bokeh depth on both the phones as per your liking, so I won't go into depths here. Okay, I'm recording 1080p 30 fps footage from the selfie cameras of the Galaxy S20, which is on my left, and the OnePlus 8, which is on my right. The OnePlus 8 seems a little more zoomed in, but I'm not going to hold it against it. So yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of sweaty because it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon right now, but it's a good time to get that golden shade. Just going to start panning the camera around a bit so you can get an idea of the HDR. It's not that good on both the devices, I would say, but at the end of the day, it's not that bad either. I think OnePlus 8 has a slight edge here, but once again I'm going to pan the camera around a bit so you can get a view of the grasses and the greens. Coming on to low light shots, in this first shot of the Mi notebook with a vibrant wallpaper on, you can notice that both the phones do a fairly good job. The colors are the same, and even in terms of details, both the shots are at par. However, this was more of a simulated shot. In this next shot, I took a spare GPU and did a photo shoot of it in my balcony with just the street light shining in the corner. Needless to say, both the phones managed to illuminate the subject equally well, though in terms of details, the 8 Pro definitely wins. Like, just zoom into the text at the bottom, which is so clear on the OnePlus, while you sort of have to struggle with the S20. Turning the night mode on, and you do get a lot more brightness in both the images, but the 8 Pro definitely seals its spot as the winner in this segment. The card is highlighted beautifully, and heck, some text on the board at the bottom is also readable, while the S20 isn't half that good. Now, in terms of low light selfies, this shot was taken in my room, which has just a red lamp in one corner, and that's it. Needless to say, both the shots are bad, though OnePlus's shot looks a bit more sharper and has lesser noise. That said, the S20 has a night mode for its selfies that totally changes the story and easily outshines the 8 Pro, which does not have a night mode. The trade-off is obviously that the night mode takes 2 seconds to process, but I feel it's sort of worth it. So, who's the winner? Well, from what I can make out, the OnePlus 8 Pro definitely offers a higher value for money and definitely gives the S20 a run for its money. Yes, it does lack in certain areas and it could use a lot of work in terms of controlling the HDR and the edge detection, but as a whole, the OnePlus 8 Pro definitely offers a massive camera improvement throughout its legacy and goes head to head with the S20. As for the S20 as a camera phone in itself, I think it still offers that premium branding, justifies its price tag because it offers a more consistent result, and that is primarily the reason why I would still stick with it as a primary camera phone, because I know that the results will be more consistent. Which also reminds me, would you like to see a Gcam comparison of the OnePlus 8 Pro? Let me know in the comments below. And with that, we come to the end of this video. Now, as you might have already seen and you're probably about to comment, there is no watermark on the S20, but there wasn't an option to enable it. Obviously, you can still download the full res images like I mentioned before. So you can see in the EXIF information as well that these shots are taken directly from the S20. We haven't modified them in any matter whatsoever. Just like I said before, we at Guiding Tech do not fabricate our results, and you can always check them out and analyze things for yourself. Now, if you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more awesome tech content. Till then, this is Varun from Guiding Tech, and I'll see you in the next one.